And welcome everybody to another episode of the Ocho here at the Voice of College Football, aka Big Ten Live Ocho edition. Today is Monday, March 18th, 2024. My name is John Diadamo, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour or two here. I host this show as well as Michigan Wolverines Live at the Voice of College Football on Tuesday nights. So join us tomorrow night as well for Michigan Wolverines Live on the Michigan channel with myself and TJ Konarski from Ronin Sports Talk as we break down all the news, positive and not so positive, that Michigan's been dealing with the last couple days. And I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. Reminders as well to please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the Voice of College Football, and share this link with everybody. Just go ahead and share it with everybody. We would really appreciate that. I'm posting the link to join the panel because today is a very special day where we don't have a media guest. The special guest is you, the community at Voice of College Football. So think of it like when Time Magazine, that one year, instead of a person of the year, they had a mirror, and everybody got to be the person of the year. Well, that's tonight here at the Voice of College Football. So join us. Click that link. You can have your camera on. You can have your camera off. It doesn't matter. And we want to welcome in the Rod Farva, we got Hummus, we got Dependent Fanatic, we got everybody, and we got Jackson Johnson, who will bring in shortly as well. But we will gather a couple more, see if we can get some more folks onto the panel. Also, reminder, don't forget that if you want your comment or question at the top of the list, go ahead and just send us a super chat. $2, $5, whatever you want. If you have a burning question, you want it at the top so that we can answer it, go ahead and send us a super chat. As well, one final thing before we start talking about content. Don't forget that the new time for Trojan Conquest Live, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, with Mark, Tim Prangley, and Matt Zemek, who write for Trojans Wire and give their takes on USC football. So let's begin with this, and then we will bring on our two panelists so far, and we welcome maybe one or two more to click the link and be a part of it as well. Breaking news here at the Voice of College Football. Alabama head coach, former Washington head coach, Kalen DeBoer, his salary was just released, $10 million a year to start. So who comes out ahead in this? Washington, Alabama, or just DeBoer himself? I have my thoughts on this, but joining us right now is Jackson Johnson. Jackson, great to have you back on the Ocho.
Oh, thank you for having me back on. How you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing well, sir. We actually have a pretty solid amount of news given the fact that we're in the off season and basketball time and everything else. So, sure. This story came out about an hour ago while I was on the treadmill. And I thought, especially because I know that you are a regular panelist and you have the unique perspective of being a Alabama fan and on a Big Ten themed show. So there you go. So we'll get to that in just a second. I do want to bring on, because we also do have, looks like Sean is, we'll bring him down for right now. Just ping me when you're ready, Sean. So we'll start with you, Jackson, on the news that just came out. So obviously, in order to get Kalen DeBoer to leave Washington, as Washington offered to double Kalen DeBoer's salary from to it would have been about $8.5 million a year. But Alabama outdid them, and they said, we're going to give you $10 million a year, and then eventually we'll bring it up to 11, almost $12 million by year 8. So who wins out in this situation? What do you was this about what you expected?
Oh man, that pretty much, because I mean, this looks like a huge win for Alabama, but it's also a huge win for Kalen DeBoer and his family because they are rolling in the money.
Absolutely, and we'll dive in a little deeper in a second. But we do have Sean Garner in the house, a reasonable Buckeye. Sean, welcome back.
Great to be back, John. How's it going?
It's going well. We got, this news came out about an hour ago. I was just saying to Jackson, I was on the treadmill. I got the ping that they just announced Kalen DeBoer's salary, which is $10 million year 1, and then by year 8, $11.75 million, almost 12. Alabama's showing that they're willing to pay for a top tier coach after Saban. So I'm curious what you think.
This is less than what Saban was making, still, right?
Yes.
This is still a little bit less. So, yeah, I mean, this is just the game's where the game's headed. I mean, $10 million pretty shortly will be probably what most Power 5 coaches are making. I mean, it's getting that ridiculous now. So, not surprised to see the terms of this deal here. So
yeah, it didn't
I'm trying to find
quite a lot. Yeah, it didn't shock me much.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the terms of the buyout on this.
Yeah,
potentially what it would be.
I can pop them. So. I can pop it in here. It's a $12 million buyout, and Alabama looks like is going to pay it.
That was the buyout from Washington, right? I'm just wondering what his potential buyout would be at Bama.
Oh, at Bama. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if they've released that yet. If anybody knows in chat, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna scan here. But yeah, they had so Bama. I mean, Bama has shown, as you know, Jackson, that they're willing to pay and give resources to a great coach. I mean, Nick Saban was making $11.8 a year plus houses and other special arrangements that they did for Saban. So they're willing to give resources to a quality coach, clearly.
Mm-hmm. The commitment to winning at football has never been a question at Bama. No.
So I'm curious because Washington was willing to double, but they weren't willing to go all the way up to the $10 million. I'm kind of curious as to who wins out here, because Washington obviously was able to go and hire, I think, the best coach they could. Right, Jed Fish is probably he's who I wanted if they were going to go external. It would have been DeBoer and Fish. So they I think they did pretty well, and they obviously didn't need to match. They felt like they didn't need to match this because maybe they already knew kind of who they wanted. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, I've stated before, I'm a little bit. I think Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach, but I'm always a little skeptical of these coaches that get hot for a year or two, and then you throw all this money at them, and I think expectations are really high. They're always high at Bama, but I mean, there is the chance that we're overrating them, and that there's not much of a difference between Kalen DeBoer and Jed Fish. I think that's probably the reality. I think they're both really good coaches, and Washington's getting Fish, at a heavily discounted price there. So that's how I view it, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, Washington, and to their credit, they did try, but like I think that they probably would have been willing to match it if he had beat Michigan and won the title. That's what I think. I think that because he didn't do that, they just weren't willing to match it. Because I think 11 million is about what you make if you win a title. Like that's kind of I feel like at this point the floor for somebody who wins the title, right? Kirby Smart, when he won his first title, I think he went up to around there. And then Nick Saban's clause kicked in because he had to be the highest paid coach. So, that's kind of what it seems like the going rate is for a title winner.
Yeah. I have two thoughts on that. One, I think this shows the difference in priorities at the university and maybe the difference in resource access. So, I mean, Washington, clearly they love football. They love winning, but it's not going to be number one for that university. They're located in a different part of the country. Domination in football isn't as important to them as, a lot of other things being, innovators and leaders, academic funding, all those sorts of things. And two is, we're talking about this like these are huge salaries. I think in a very short amount of time, what Kalen DeBoer is being paid right now will seem like a discount. It's like, you remember when Patrick Mahomes signed his
I was literally just about to say that, like that's the first thing that I thought of.
It's like, yeah, and then okay, it's like, wow, that's a huge number, like $50 million a year, and then he's like the seventh highest paid quarterback 3 years later. It's so if Washington's serious about wanting to win in a big way, eventually they're going to have to scrounge the couch for some extra change here. So
yeah, and so I guess with all that said, given that we're a Big Ten themed, I'm going to bring it back to Big Ten because, of course, as we know, Washington is now joining the Big Ten. So with that said, I think this was always going to be a rebuild, even if DeBoer had stayed. Given all the talent going to the NFL, this was going to be at least a partial rebuild, but now a little more so because the systems are going to change a bit too. But with that said, what expectations are there for Washington, do you think, the first year now that DeBoer is gone and Jed Fish is taking over?
You want that, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm thinking about where Washington's going because, they got a tough game at Iowa. That's one of the games I keep really thinking about is that trip to Kinnick Stadium. Yeah, that's going to be a rough one. Oh, hey, Gizmo, how you doing? You gonna be a panelist too? Come on in, Gizmo.
Gizmo, what do you think of Jed Fish in his first year at Washington?
Oh man,
what do you think?
Gizmo? This post on my left hand says you think Washington's going to do all right, and this post on my right hand says you don't think Washington. No, I guess he don't want to be a part of that game, does he?
Yeah.
Come on back, Gizmo.
Yeah. So if I pull up, because actually this, I started with this topic because we haven't really talked much Washington. Let's see here. Okay, let's get rid of that. So we start with the Weber State Wildcats. Okay. Eastern Michigan Eagles. So those seem like dubs, unless somebody knows something I don't about. Maybe they got a amazing transfer quarterback. But I'm pretty sure those are probably going to be dubs. And then you've got your rivalry, which I think they did a good job of making sure that you still had the Apple Cup, and now it's essentially an out of conference matchup. And so this year it'll be in Seattle, and so their first 4 games are gonna be in Seattle, which is not too shabby. And
If they
then
don't
you
go
kind
4-0
of get
in
tougher,
those, like, they're a
as
problem.
Jackson was alluding to.
Yeah.
Then you get a little tougher after that with these two.
Yeah, that Rutgers game, I mean, that big travel will be interesting, especially if that's an early kickoff. We know that West Coast teams haven't traveled and played that early window very well in the past. So that Michigan game, it'll seem weird, especially if Michigan struggles a little bit at the beginning of the season, because this will be a national. This will be what's Washington ranked here? They have Michigan at 13. Washington is probably. Do they have their ranking? Whatever they have them ranked at.
Well, I guess I
It
can
might
just
be up
go.
at the top.
I can just go to
Michigan.
the opposite, and I don't see a ranking.
Yeah, number 13 and unranked in a rematch of the national championship game.
I wonder if it'll be on Fox or if it'll be on CBS, honestly.
The Michigan game?
Yeah, Michigan, Washington.
Which is the bigger game? The Fox gets the more attractive game.
I could see that being on Big Noon. Well, it would be 9 a.m. over there if they did Big Noon.
I do wonder if they will start playing some of those early morning games now that they're in the Big Ten, just to get on that Big Noon.
Or they could be doing like Big Ten after dark, like with Washington USC, for example.
Yeah, that would be something. I mean, you are going to see some good matchups in each, like we talked about, each 12, 3:30 Eastern, etc. But yeah, we'll see some teams we don't normally see in some of those areas. But I think they actually have like a pretty doable, considering they did lose so much. This is still a doable schedule. I think they're even with a lot of unknowns on their team, they're probably going to beat Indiana. They have a shot against UCLA at home. So they've obviously got some tough matchups with Oregon and USC and Penn State, Iowa, Michigan, but they could. I could see an 8-4 with the non-con that they have. I think an 8-4 somewhere in there seems about right, considering what they lost. Maybe 7-5, 8-4. Anybody thinking higher?
I think 9-3 is very realistic for them because this does not seem like the most difficult Big Ten schedule.
No.
I mean,
that easy
and their non-con is very bad. It's a very weak non-con. So
if I were the Washington AD, I would make sure that Washington State stays annually, but I would make sure that there's another Power 5 game. Like, make sure there's a tougher game as well.
Absolutely. Before we move topics, I do want to just highlight our buddy Minnesota Dave with a $5 $4.99 super chat there. 8 o'clock is my break time. 9 o'clock Eastern, I could come on then if you're going to go for that long. Minnesota Dave, because we don't have a media guest, and the media guest is the voice of college football community this week, we may not go that long after 9 Eastern. So you feel free to swing by, though, if you have some time and you're in a nice, quiet place. Feel free to do that. Before we move on, we do want to remind everybody that when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as many of us do from time to time, put that link in any video that we have at the Voice of College Football and help Mark Rogers and help Voice of College Football Network. If you're already going to be there anyway, might as well kick a couple of bucks over to the Voice of College Football.
We're going to address a question Hummus Hero asked about, I'm thinking Jalen Polk going to Bama. No, he's actually in the NFL draft this year.
Yeah, I remember one of them transferred to Bama, but
McMillan. There, yeah.
Right. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, Polk. Let's see. Yeah, a couple of them went to the NFL, or they're going to the draft.
Yeah, Washington. They did lose a ton on offense. They lost a ton.
Yeah, he's going to the
as
draft.
a team, really. They lost their Jabbar Muhammad, their top corner, transferred to Oregon. Actually,
wow,
very very interesting rivalry transfer, but. Yeah, so I mean, it will be interesting. I mean, I have no idea really what to expect from Washington, except I know they're not going to be in the national championship game. I would bet my life on that.
Yeah, I'm looking here at McMillan. I mean, according to this, he's still at Washington, but
okay.
But that seems either he's going for his like 5th year, or. But I don't really see. Let's see here. Announced plans to enter NFL draft Jan 11. So he's going to the draft. I mean, I figured most of these guys are going to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alabama got the quarterback, and they still have Milroe too, and Milroe's been working with Jordan Palmer in the offseason to improve and hopefully stay QB. His goal is to stay QB1. So we'll see how that goes. More on the cash. We're having a lot of cash discussions today. So we also just heard that the playoff deal has been announced. That's going to be happening. It's a $7.8 billion extension over 6 years with ESPN as part of the new college football playoff, and each SEC and Big Ten school is going to receive $21 million each annually. ACC will receive,
that's each school individually is getting 21 million.
Each member of the conference, I'm assuming, who gets into the CFP, right?
Yeah. Now you can see why USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Washington were eager to get in the conference.
Yeah, ACC 13 million, Big 12 12 million each annually. Notre Dame 12 million. And then you kind of go down from there. I saw that. Where is it here? There's I have one. Yeah. So meanwhile, group of 5 schools, 1.8 million each, and Washington State and Oregon State, $360,000 each annually if they get in. So the Pac-2 still going.
Yeah. I do wonder what like a number like that could mean for a realignment. Like, do some of the ACC schools not mind breaking the grant of rights and paying whatever penalty they have to pay if they're getting that kind of payout on an annual basis?
Yeah, Florida State will be getting out of the ACC.
I agree. Yeah, they're going to do whatever it takes to get out.
And then once they leave, I mean, it's a far less attractive conference for Clemson and Miami and North Carolina as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see like Louisville, North Carolina State getting out. And
I don't think those schools are very attractive pickups for the other ones. I'm saying like North Carolina, Miami, Clemson, Florida State. Like I think they can call their shot if they want to leave. I don't know if there's much else in the ACC that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to fight over.
Maybe not the Big Ten SEC, but I'm wondering if the Big 12 gets some of those ACC schools. Because that's what I'm wondering, though.
Yeah, it's a $8 million drop, right? From, if I'm doing my math semi correctly at the end of the day here. But it's a pretty significant drop from 21 to where the ACC and Big 12 are. So, Yeah, I think this is just yet another data point showing that we're headed to super conferences eventually.
This doesn't even include the television rights, discrepancies between them. It doesn't include, the attendance, the gates from playing in larger stadiums. You don't have to play in front of 20,000 people at Wallace Wade anymore. You're going to be. So it's and also the academic funding too that comes from it. I mean, like there's the ACC and the Big 12 the ACC in particular is hanging by a thread.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just crazy to me. And then the group of 5 schools, they were worried they would get excluded from the new deal or the new arrangement. So apparently they negotiated this so they could, make sure that they were still included. As we know, group of 5 schools have had a difficult time getting into the 4-team playoff. So they wanted to make sure that they had somebody get into the 12-team. So they went for 1.8. So each group of 5 school 1.8. But man, you got to feel bad for Washington State and Oregon State. I know this is a Big Ten theme, but I hope they find a conference that will be a little more competitive with some of the big dogs here.
I wonder what ESPN is going to be losing with because it's like, yes, they're going to make a lot of money with SEC and the playoff deal, but does that mean they're going to have to sell off the NBA to, let's say, NBC, CBS, Fox, after this season? Are we going to see them give up some of the MLB rights? Are we going to see that? That's the question there. I mean, we'll still see Monday Night Football, of course, on ESPN, and they're going to be airing the Super Bowl once every 4 years. But what's going to happen for spring and summer for ESPN networks exactly? Because, I mean, you're going to be all right in the fall, but you got to think about the other seasons as well, especially if you call yourself the worldwide leader in sports.
Well, they're getting to the point where worldwide leader might be in quotes at this point, but hey, this is certainly going to keep them at least somewhat relevant. Before we continue, we do have, it looks like Minnesota Dave. I'm going to see if he's ready to roll here. Minnesota Dave, you with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good. A lot better than last time.
Oh, much. Absolutely.
Figured out my problems. All right. That's how it works out.
Although I missed the Keeney voice from South Park.
So Minnesota Dave, you came at a good time here, and thanks for the contribution as well. But we had just started talking about the fact that the playoff deal has been announced with ESPN, and it's looking like each year that the Big Ten and SEC schools are going to get that get into the playoff are going to get $21 million each every year. ACC 13 million, Big 12 12 million. Group of 5 schools get 1.8, and then of course you've got your Pac-2, Washington State and Oregon State, $360,000 if they get into the playoff. So with that said, I mean, is this like, Dave? What's kind of your take on the Big Ten schools getting significantly more than a lot of these other conferences here?
Well, certain schools, I'm going to say, if you're Minnesota, Purdue, if you're one of those schools that are somewhat, competitive, Iowa, this is good for you. You can build on this. There's no excuses for, not competing anymore in the Big Ten for athletics. No, we're not going to balance out our academics and our athletics in certain ways. This is all going to be helpful for the athletics for the Big Ten. I feel sorry for all the other conferences that are not the Big Ten and the SEC. And I especially feel sorry for the Mid-American conferences and the Sun Belt conferences. They're just.
I don't think you should. I think they're getting treated quite well in this deal too.
Oh, they're getting a decent deal for what they are. But they're kind of now become the minor league development teams for everyone else now.
And now you can see I see why UMass was eager to join the MAC.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago. I mean, like, yeah, please. What we're 1,000 miles away from the closest school in the league doesn't matter.
Well, the MAC has always been weird. Believe me, it used to have Central Florida.
Yeah.
At one time it had Central Florida. At one time it did have like UMass for football.
Yeah,
only
just
for football.
But now they're a full charter member of the Mid-American Conference starting the year after next. So.
Yeah, they should have no excuse not dominating in basketball in that conference.
That's such a drop going from the A10 to the MAC.
Yeah.
The basketball league.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge drop.
Frank Martin sitting there thinking to himself, all this for nothing. Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I also want to give an MVP mention here to Notre Dame outgoing athletic director Jack Swarbrick and incoming athletic director, former NBC sports chairman Pete Bavacqua, because they got Notre Dame at $12 million. So essentially, and like, let's face it, like Notre Dame, if they have an 11-1 season, or a 12-0 season, even if their schedule isn't amazing, they're probably getting in at 12 because they used to get in at 12-0 even before, and at 11-1 now with the 12 team, they're probably getting in. So,
oh yeah, and then depending on how everyone else is, they could easily get like a 10-2 team.
Yeah,
how straight
they
the
have
schedule.
a really good schedule. Yeah, it's possible. So yeah, just Roger Dodger. Yeah, 375. That's nothing. OSU just did stadium upgrades.
Yeah. You'll have some really nice bleachers to sit in when you watch Oregon State, San Jose State in the middle.
Hey, it's all about getting those. Maybe some leather covered bleachers there while you're playing the top teams in the big in college football. All right, so
can I just say that Oregon is one of the stadiums I really want to visit since they joined it, because that's the one place that atmosphere just looks so awesome.
I'm with you. I want to visit all the new Big Ten stadiums. Actually, like I'd like to go visit USC. I'd like to go visit. Even the Rose Bowl, has that history, man. Like that, like any of those, like to visit a couple of them at least.
Yeah.
Hey, Minnesota fans, we finally get to go to the Rose Bowl after so many years.
There it is. It
took you so long to join the conference, but we finally did it.
Minnesota.
It'll be
Rose Bowl.
Party like it's 1961.
Yep. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started in
Absolutely. And of course, we always want to mention that Voice of College Football has a merch store. That's right, folks. In case you just fell off the turnip truck, we do have a merch store. There's lots of good stuff in there, including coffee mugs, gift cards, keychains, the hardcover notebook, wine glasses. So you've got stuff for pretty much every occasion in here. Whether you're going to the beach or the pool and you need some flippy floppies, or you got some work to do, you need a notebook or
if you've had a hard day and you want to unwind, there's that wine glass.
Yeah, wine glass. You got there's more unwinding later because you've got jigsaw puzzles and socks, but I was looking for Let's see
The
here.
dog ball.
There it is. There it is. You got the dog bowl, and of course a pint glass, so you can cheers to your favorite team with. So you can pick your beverage of choice there for both things. So just check
You
it
can
out.
definitely use that pint glass for when you're hanging out with your friends, especially for this year's edition of March Madness. You can show it off to all your friends.
We got Voice of College Football, the cereal, Voice of College Football, the t-shirt, Voice of College Football, the flamethrower. The kids will love that one.
Well, if you would like that, just email Joey Foster, Football News Hour, Gmail, with your product requests. But anyway, so one more, and then we'll get to spring ball. But we do have one more. UCLA is hiring a new general manager. So the Notre Dame assistant athletic director Butler Benton is apparently going to be going over to become the new general manager for Deshaun Foster at UCLA. And what I'm curious here about is, we've started to see this the last couple of years. The rise of the general manager role, and we started to see it even before NIL, but it's grown because it seems like, at least with Michigan's, a big part of his job description, the new GM, is he's managing the NIL operations. So with the rise of with NIL becoming what it is every major school going to have a GM now? Is that kind of where we're headed?
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
I mean, we're basically going to call it NFL Junior, so to speak.
Why wouldn't you have one? I mean, especially if they're allowed to directly communicate with the way I thought NIL was supposed to be established was there was supposed to be a wall of separation between the program and the NIL collectives, and that doesn't seem to have been reality in any way.
No, you're right. It is totally not what I thought it was. I thought they were just able to get money from their video games and get money for signing stuff and pictures and stuff like that. Image, name, and likeness. Be able to get money off of that. But it seems to me they just put everything now in a huge pot, and everybody gets a bit.
Yeah, yeah. It almost seems just like an inducement scheme now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love the original concept of NIL to be able to compensate players for things like jersey sales and things like their likeness being included in the new college football video game. Things like that make perfect sense to me.
Oh, right?
Yeah. But now we're definitely getting to a pay for play point where eventually you're gonna see semi-pro. But my point is, it seems like the general manager role is in part to manage these NIL relationships.
I mean, they should have someone fully on, every program should have some person fully on staff whose only role is NIL. Yeah. This day and age, I mean, if you don't have a full-time NIL department with a couple of employees, you're behind the game, I think. So
I hope this guy Butler Benton can help UCLA read the room, because unfortunately Martin Jamon cannot. So maybe this guy can help him read the room anytime there's a good or bad situation, or any situation for that matter.
Roger Dodger would like to give the nod to Caleb Williams as the only honest NIL earner due to his Dr. Pepper commercials.
I thought he was talking about the CW network.
I know, right?
For some of
are we having college football players appear in reruns of Veronica Mars now, or?
Well, There you go. I mean, you could offer that.
North
But yeah, I mean, that is
Carolina-
another great way of using like NIL the way it's supposed to be. If you're a really, really good player, you might wind up on a Dr. Pepper commercial.
There you
That's
go.
fine. Fine by me.
Or do like a little Five Guys commercial, or like Chick-fil-A. Do 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 do.
Well, Notre Dame also didn't they have the their entire offensive line sponsored by Goodyear or something like that? I seem to recall.
Oh, good.
Something
It better
along
not have been Goodyear. That is an Ohio company, and that would be a very,
That'd be
very
controversial.
backhanded.
I wonder who Liquid
Great
IV is
betrayal.
gonna get. I wonder who Liquid IV is gonna get. Like who are they gonna sponsor exactly?
We will find out. All right, folks. Spring practice begins this week, and we do have one storyline that I found, which was, and we don't normally hear this from a coach this early in when there's a at least a somewhat of a quarterback battle. But we did hear from Michigan State new head coach Jonathan Smith that Aiden Childs has an advantage in the quarterback battle. And there are many quarterback battles that are going to be happening amongst a lot of these 18 teams in spring, fall, and fall ball. So I mean, what do we think some of the major things are to watch here if you're trying to look at spring ball from Big Ten perspective? I'll start with whoever wants to start. It's fine.
Honestly, it's going to be the quarterback battles. Like, who's going to be the replacement of J.J. McCarthy for Michigan? That's going to be a tremendous storyline right there. I would like to see if Orgy's going to be the starter.
Yeah,
that would be amazing.
I mean, if you're going off quarterback issues, I'm really interested in seeing how Michigan's O-line shakes out. 5 new starters there on that. And I mean, like there's a lot of, I think a lot of them have a lot of positional versatility. So there's a lot of interchangeable pieces. You know, you could see Hinton at left tackle or something, or Ohadi. You know, I mean, like you can see a lot of guys going in a lot of different, you can see a lot of different configurations to that line.
Yeah.
It's such an important unit to the team.
Yeah. El Hadi and Percy will probably be guards, Crippen, center, and then Hinton could probably go in either. But we know, that the MO of Michigan has been you put people where they're needed. I mean, Carson Barnhart, how many different positions was he in? Like 3 this past year. So they rotate based on what's needed at the time. If there are injuries. So I think you'll finally see Percy, El Hadi, Crippen, these guys who have been like just waiting their turn and waiting their turn and waiting their turn, and these transfers keep coming in. But I think maybe now they're finally going to have their moment in the spotlight. At least some of them will.
Yeah. So just to go over a few of my teams, things that I'm looking at. I think the quarterback battle is a minor interest. I don't think Devin Brown is drawing dead for that start. He's way behind. I think it's very likely to be Will Howard, but Devin Brown's live. He can win that job. And then I also on the back end, on the defensive side, I'm really interested to see what they do with Sonny Styles. I think they're going to move him down to linebacker, especially with Caleb Downs. It's a better fit for him anyway. Probably he's a little oversized and probably stiff to play on the back end. But see if they've got a lot. It got kind of a log jam at linebacker. A lot of guys. They generally only play 2 in their base defense too. So that is there's going to be some really talented guys that are going to be buried a little bit on that depth chart. And I also want to see like who emerges as the defensive tackle next to Tyleik Williams, who's going to play more of that. And whether Tyleik does he play the nose tackle role, or is he more of the 3 technique in this? Because I think they've got a couple guys that are better suited to play like closer to the ball, and Tyleek's probably a little bit more disruptive. So I'd like to see Tyleek move to what Mike Hall did last year and have like a Hero Canoe or one of these other guys emerge as that thumper in the middle. So, and then also I'm just really excited for all of the freshmen, but I'm really, really excited for JJ Smith.
Yeah.
And like that's just I want to see the spring game almost for nothing else than to watch him go against RDBs.
Oh yeah.
Big reps against Denzel Burke and Jermaine Matthews. So,
and for me, I'm more interested in basically the corner and the safeties right now on the defensive side for the Gophers, because you lose Newbin and you lose a couple good corners last year, and like to see who's going to be stepping up for the Gophers on that. Of course, the quarterback play will be interesting with the transfer from New Hampshire. And, here's the other thing I just found out. Minnesota is not having a spring game this year. This is the first year they're not going to do a spring game. They are going to do a fans welcome to practice day week. It's not a day, it's a week. So you go for a whole week. I think like the last week of practice, they'll have a couple scrimmages. You'll be able to watch the whole practice for the whole week. If you want to just go in there and just, go to the Gophers training facilities, and they'll let people in and you can watch the whole practice. They'll let so many people in, and then after a while they'll take so many people out and they'll let so many people in for the next day. And, that's what they're going to be doing.
Oh, I'm really surprised. PJ Fleck seems like the type to really want the spring game.
It seemed like it too, but I don't know why they're doing it this way, but who knows? Who knows why they're doing it this way? I've never heard it done this way ever, so this is going to be all new to me.
Going back to Sean, because this quarterback battle is really fascinating, because you mentioned 2 names that I'm looking at, but there were a couple of pieces of maybe clips that I saw of Air Noland, who was also, he looked really good in the little bit of film that I saw. Is he just out of it now? Is he going to transfer? Is he done?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he entered the portal after spring, because there's a lot of really positive buzz on Julian Sand.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if you trust the blogs, the posts, the reporters that I'm reading, he's next in line, and that's how they feel about it. So, we'll see. I mean, that like nothing's written in stone yet, but I would say his days at Ohio State might be numbered.
Yeah, it's
I'm
tough
curious
with all the quarterback talent that's there. Yeah, go ahead, Jackson.
I was going to say, I'm curious about how the 4 new kids in the Big Ten are going to do in spring practice. I mean, who's going to have the best? Who's going to have the worst, honestly?
I want to see if USC can build anything on the offensive line at all, because right now like I said, a depth chart I looked at didn't even list a right tackle for them.
Ooh,
Our lads. Listen,
ouch!
They don't have a second string. They don't have a first string.
Oh, they better get on they better get some transfers quick, fast.
Yeah. That's the number one thing you need to have in Big Ten football is a huge offensive line.
Yeah.
Oh, Depending
don't
Fanatic
tell me.
is wondering, is Knowles on the hot seat? I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
No, not at all. I mean, he could if things go really, really badly this year. I mean, things can happen, but I don't think anybody's really all that dissatisfied with Jim Knowles' work.
Yeah.
Like there's more. There are idiots everywhere, but
Yeah,
most
as
people
far
are
as I
pleased
would
with
say, it
it.
looked like the defense was what was working last year more than anything. The defense and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, the expectations are sky high for the defense. You bring in a guy who's a transfer who's going to be a top 10 pick, more likely than not, 2 years from now, and you have all this NFL talent coming back. I mean, the expectations are very, very high, but I think people are mostly satisfied with what Knowles has done there.
and it looks like Tim is listing out the tackles for USC, and you do want to be tuning in a little over an hour from now because Trojan Conquest Live, we're going to send everybody over there and put the link in the chat shortly here. But Mark and Tim and Matt put together a great show every week talking USC football. So if you want to hear all about what they're cooking up over there, for the 2024 Big Ten entry, definitely listen in tonight in about an hour, and you can hear. And I believe they're going position group by position group, so you can hear each part of it and what they're working on. All right. So Jackson, I was curious. And again, since you're on the panel, right? What's kind of your take on your quarterback situation? Because obviously, from what I understand, Milroe is still competing for the job, but Washington, DeBoer has brought in one of his guys as well. I believe the former backup quarterback from Washington. So there's a couple of people in the mix, it seems like. Have you heard anything from, the little bit that you've seen, or is that just going to be a battle that plays out?
I think it's going to be a battle that plays out.
Got it. Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch.
Milroe gave a lot, pretty much every team some type of problem. And he has a cannon and he has legs, and you kind of have to pick one of them to neutralize, and you still have to deal with the other. So we will see. Any kind of other wrap up thoughts on your teams and kind of what you're looking at for spring, or did you pretty much cover?
I pretty much cover what I can talk about. I'll be honest with you. I followed the Gophers very well as I could for trying to follow every other Minnesota sport that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I just live in a city that basically has everything going on. I'm trying to pay attention to basically everything as much as I can. When you're just a diehard Minnesota sports fan like I am, it's very hard. I'm trying to keep up with spring training. I'm trying to keep up with
Vikings.
The
Vikings
T-Wolves are putting together a nice little season this year too. For once.
Every time I watch, they lose, so I just stopped watching. I'm just jinxing it. I just don't want to jinx it anymore. I'm just not going to jinx it. I'll watch until they get to the playoffs, and if they lose in the first game of the playoffs, I'll stop watching then. I'm not all that big in the NBA either, so.
I hope the Timberwolves do all right for your sake. I really do.
Yeah. I really do. We need a championship. It's been since the 91 World Series. God, it's been a long time since we won anything in professional sports.
When your guys
men's
went against
professional sports,
Atlanta Braves, they were both they both were coming off the worst year in 1990. I believe
that was the year both Atlanta and Minnesota were in last place. It was the battle of the two last place teams from last year. That was a great year. I was first moved here too.
What was it like getting to see Kirby Puckett and Jack Morris winning it?
Oh, it was just so amazing. It was fun, but when I was 12, I used to rock. I had ADD. I still have ADD, horrible ADD. I used to rock back and forth in my seat and hum when the games got closer. And my dad and my mom looked at me funny, like, why are you doing this all the time? I'm just so nervous. And my mom says, Stan, what do you do when he acts this way? Another beer.
But helps on the way for the Vikings. You might be getting JJ here.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And I love stealing a running back from the Packers. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see. I'm hoping to see whether you guys get a quarterback that can win you the big game, unlike Kirk Cousins.
I think Minnesota Vikings are cursed. We just don't know what the curse is.
Yeah, I think if you guys are smart, you'd go JJ, because the alternative would probably be what, Drake May. Something about that situation. I just feel like JJ has the at least not just from, I know I'm biased, but from the NFL scouts that have looked at him that are not affiliated with Michigan. That's pretty much been universally positive feedback from what I've looked at. So. Drake May, just for some reason, he just strikes me potentially as a bust. I could be very wrong, and he might wind up being, winning 3 Super Bowls, because with the NFL, you'd never quite know. But
it's interesting. 3 years ago, there were 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 15. You know how many are going to be back with their original team next season?
0.
1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember
you look through the history of drafting quarterbacks high. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it is. It is. Remember RG3. Everyone was talking about RG3 was going to be way better than Andrew Luck, and that never turned out. And I even said that. RG3 looked like a really good college athletic quarterback. He just didn't look like a guy that was going to do well in the NFL, where
he had a great rookie.
Luck totally looked like he was going to be a total NFL type quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, RG3 had a great rookie season.
Yeah, and then he fell.
Yeah, then he just wasn't.
That's what playing for the Redskins will do to you, man.
Well, thankfully, no one ever has to do that again.
Yeah,
they don't.
Or yeah, I'm
we
kind
gotta
of
go by the
wondering how
politically
that.
correct term, the Commanders.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm wondering how
Commanders,
that how that new owner of the Commanders is doing, honestly, because I've got a feeling I'm hoping for their sakes it's much better than the one where Dan Schneider was calling the shots.
That's not a very high bar.
I know.
If you have working plumbing in the stadium, you're up. You're doing right. If you're not paying hush money to if you're not sending nudes of the cheerleaders around the league to other GMs, you're already doing better. So
yeah, I heard that dude was a notorious pervert in the back room. I was like, that's not someone that's concerned about the football team. He's more concerned about what he can go do in the back room.
Yeah, is he more of a perv than Vince McMahon was? You know who Vince McMahon is, right?
Oh, Gizmo.
I know.
I actually have not read the text. Everything I've heard is that it's really, really lurid and really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So let's go to a super chat. So, of course, this isn't exactly. This is an interesting take as well. So we've got Nick giving a financial contribution, and we do appreciate that. Well, Sean, this one might be directed to you. Why hasn't OSU? I know you know how to spell Y, Nick. Come on now. hasn't OSU been punished for catapult film stealing with no G?
Okay, so I'll tell you everything I know about Catapult here. It'll take me probably like 20 seconds. I know the story kind of broke right around the new year that Michigan had cut off access to their Catapult film. If people don't know, Catapult is an apparatus that players can access game film, practice film to look over.
Yep.
Because they were concerned that they had been breached, that there was a breach of security. Now they among other programs reported the incident to Catapult, and Catapult conducted an internal investigation. They found themselves innocent. Like they said they concluded that there was no evidence of a breach and that the NCAA was investigating this independently. And that's about the last I've heard from this. I don't know.
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I don't. So, I don't know. Right now, as far as I know, there's not much of a case against anybody in this. So, I don't know. I haven't heard anything for a while on this.
Yeah, I'm just so over. We love your contribution, Nick, but I am so over this topic. But when more actual, when more news, breaks, of course, we're going to break it here at the Voice of College Football as it happens.
And I'll say this: if Ohio State is found to have done something wrong, they are found to have illegally pirated access to somebody, and then they definitely should be punished, 100%.
Yeah, and look, guess what? There's radios in the headsets coming, folks.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Thank
happening.
you, Connor Stallions.
Yeah.
So give Connor Stallions a medal.
Don't get rid of double overtime. Don't get rid of overtime. College football. Do not do that. Keep it.
Wait, is there talk of getting rid of overtime?
No, but I'm worried that with it turning into the NFL, they might try to think of that for 2025.
The NFL has overtime. They've had overtime longer than
but they don't have a double overtime, triple overtime.
Yeah, they don't have it like that.
Yeah,
not in the regular season.
It's like, no.
Yeah, regular season still, whoever wins the toss gets the opportunity to score a touchdown. If they score a touchdown, they win. But with the playoff now, the other team can now answer. So that was I love that change. I think, making it a little bit more like college.
There we go.
That's not so bad. So before we do final thoughts and where can people find you, as we always do, a couple of reminders about what's coming up. So tomorrow night, we'll have Michigan Wolverines Live. That'll be my next show with TJ Konarski, Ronin Sports Talk. We are going to be talking about Juwan Howard. We're going to be talking about, our very recent defensive line coach hire and what's been happening with that. We're going to be
very recent offensive line head coach hire.
What's that?
What about your very recent offensive line coach hire, Ernie?
Anyway, Scruggs is the one. If we're talking about the drunk driving, that's Greg Scruggs.
I shouldn't pile on. That's
yeah, but lots of things going on, and we'll get TJ's take since when we had our last show with TJ, it was the day before the news broke on the recent running backs hire. So we'll get his take on that too, and lots more. Michigan Wolverines Live. Also, Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. I had to do a new band. I don't know how the old one got cleared, but Big Ten Live with Mark Rogers, where you can actually pick up the phone and call Mark, old school, 7 p.m. Eastern Friday nights to talk Big Ten. So we do 2 Big Ten themed shows a week. So lots of Big Ten topics. And of course, coming up next, as we've talked about, Trojan Conquest Live over on the USC channel. So with all that said, it's time for final thought and where can people find you? And we're going to start with Minnesota Dave. Give us a final thought and wrap it up here.
My final thought is basically I have gotten a little sick and tired of a certain type of Minnesota fan base called if you're not born here, you don't get to comment about the Gophers or any other team. There's a lot of like Minnesota elitist sports fans for some reason. You don't talk about us. I'm like, stop it. Stop it. Just because I'm originally from Detroit, I lived here most of my life, doesn't mean I'm not a bigger Gopher fan than you. Stop it. And you can find me at the University of Minnesota. That's where I work at. Have a nice day.
Later, Minnesota Dave. Always fun talking to you, man.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Next up, we got Sean.
All right, guys. Just an insanely great weekend of sports coming up. We all know we've all got March fever upon us. One of the best events of the year. There's also a little thing called the NCAA wrestling tournament, fully engaged in here. My Buckeyes are not involved in the basketball tournament, but my alma mater, the Oakland University Golden Grizzlies, first round matchup with the Kentucky Wildcats.
There you go.
Let's get this done. And the place I was, the location of my conception, the University of Dayton, has a meeting with Nevada. They're a 7 seed going against Nevada, the 10 seed. So, yeah, I've got some rooting interests all over the place. This is about my favorite sports weekend of the year coming up. So I'm just super, super pumped for it. And that's with no football. So, yeah.
Well, in a couple weeks, the United Football League will be premiering the combined XFL and USFL football league will be, I think, the 30th. In a couple weeks, they'll be kicking off. So,
is Shea Patterson on any of those teams?
That's a great question. I don't know. I remember he was the number one pick for a second there. Oh, he's on the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL.
Canadian Football League now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there
I probably need to start
Oh.
keeping up with the CFL more often and SF or UFL as well. I probably need to start doing that more often.
Yep. Pulling for I'll be pulling for Jesse Mendez to bring home another national title for the Buckeyes. Penn State's going to roll over the team title, so that's not in contention.
Minnesota Dave does like his Canadian football, so there you go.
Well, if I ever meet Chris Berman, that's what I'm trying to make sure. Because if I ever get to a point where I meet him, I'll make sure I know what I'm talking about. Because he watches a lot of it.
I keep up with the XFL. My favorite team is the Bahamas. Okay.
Well, it's not the XFL anymore. It's the XFL and the USFL have joined forces.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I kind of like the idea you get the best bits of both, because there were some really solid games in both, and then there were some really crap games in both. And so, in theory, this should give you the best of both of the spring leagues.
So I saw the Michigan Panthers are actually playing at Ford Field.
I believe I think that's where they're.
That is
yeah.
That is ambitious.
Ford
you want to play in front of an 85% empty stadium. I mean,
well, I think the idea is that over time people start to go more, and it's Ford Field, so there's a lot there, but there's a couple of iconic stadiums that will probably be mostly empty, but they are used. I think I like one of my favorites is probably the DC Defenders using Audi Field, because normally that's used for soccer.
Yeah.
And that one actually doesn't look so bad because it's one of the lowest amount of seats. So when you watch the XFL,
that's the problem in Detroit. There's not much between Ford Field and like a high school stadium. There's they don't have an MLS team. They don't have an arena that you can that would actually make sense for the figures they're going to draw.
Well, Sean, always great to see you, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Later. And last but certainly not least, we've got Jackson Johnson.
Well, my final thoughts are I really have a feeling that I think that we're going to see Notre Dame join the Big Ten. I mean, that TV contract's going to be one of the reasons. I mean, you really think they want to have 12 million? No, they want way more than that. I mean, NBC is going to be one of the main reasons why. Let's be honest. They want to make sure they can play USC every year and go back to play Michigan State every year.
I'm ready. I told Will ND, I'm ready. Let's bring it back.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of Will ND, he and I are doing the college basketball recap preview show tonight in 50 minutes.
Wow.
On my channel at Jackson Johnson 979 right here on YouTube, and at Will ND on his channel. We'll be discussing our recap of the conference tournaments, and we'll be previewing the round of 64. So that's going to be big right there. You can also check me out on Twitter at Jackson09960335 and on Instagram and Threads at JacksonJohnson543908, where I just run my mouth about what's going on, and I just kind of give updates about who is coming on the Jacksonian and what I've got to say about the rest of college football, NFL, and college basketball, and some other stuff here and there. But also, I have a Jacksonian March Madness group, so everyone is invited. Let me see if I can get the invite. So,
you put it in here. So, if you want to be part of the, there it is, the Jacksonian March Madness group. There it is.
I can't get a perfect bracket to save my life. And I'll tell you right now, I haven't picked a perfect national champ since 2012.
Wow.
For that was 2011, but I didn't get a perfect Final Four in 2011, to be honest. When's the last time you had a national champion correct, John?
Never, because I normally don't do basketball stuff. So
smart man. You're a smart man.
And especially this season, what's a basketball? I don't know. I've completely no idea. Because when you win 8 games the entire season, you tend to have some selective memory loss.
True. I mean, especially like when I saw who got in yesterday with the SEC Big Ten, it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in that Droopy Dog cartoon where I'm the wolf just thinking I'm away from Droopy Dog, but Droopy's right there.
Oh, Dependent Fanatic. I am very aware that he is gone, and that will be discussed with myself and TJ Konarski on tomorrow night's episode of Michigan Wolverines Live.
Oh,
Absolutely.
That's going to be awesome. Tomorrow night's edition of Wolverines Live on Michigan football at the Voice College Football. I'll be seeing to it that I not only watch one of the first 4 games, but I'll be checking out Wolverines Live. So I'll be flipping between both of those.
Well, you know what? I appreciate your support, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll see some people there. And for those people who are interested in your and Will ND's take on the basketball situation, we put the link in chat for you.
I appreciate it, man. And I will tell you though, the weather in Bama is weird. It got cold again. Like good grief. It's March, not January. Oh my God, Bama, do better.
So
I
what
got
you're
a
saying
feeling it's
is,
warm where
what
you're
you're
at.
saying is bundle up because it's cold outside.
Yep, I'm afraid so.
All right, Jackson. We'll see you next time.
I'll see you later, John.
And with that said, we are about to wrap up. So like I said, tomorrow night we got Michigan Wolverines live. Friday nights, Big Ten live with Mark Rogers, 7 p.m. Eastern, voice of college football. Pick up the phone and dial in and give your take on what you think about Big Ten football. And you and Mark can have a nice conversation. I've done it. I had a convo, and Mark was part of that, as well as Tim Prengley, who also co-hosts Trojan Conquest Live, coming up next on the USC channel. And I'm about to post the link right here. So we got Trojan Conquest Live. There's the link. That's going to be happening at 10 p.m. Eastern. And I believe that they're going to be discussing defensive tackles, according to what Tim was saying in chat. So they're going through each position group for spring ball. And so check that out. And definitely the defense is very interesting to me to see what moves they make and how they coach up their team. Because it sounds like tackling is now, it sounds like a thing, according to what I learned last episode. So continue watching. And of course, we always want to support all of our different shows that happen in the Voice of College Football Network. But there's the link to check out Trojan Conquest Live in less than an hour. And Jackson even putting my stuff on. So thank you for that. And you do have a couple of ways you can connect with me. Linktree is where you can find all kinds of, if you go onto my Linktree, you're going to find all kinds of stuff not related to football. You're going to see stuff from the event, my main jobs in there too, the events industry and speaking that I've done, panels that I've been on, articles that I've written. So if you have an interest in technology or the events industry, and in addition to college football, you may like my Linktree. But Twitter is definitely going to be your number one, /X. And also, of course, Instagram, Threads, and please do subscribe to the Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football channel. That would be amazing. And of course, the main channel and everywhere else. And of course, we do have one of our resident Buckeyes giving some commentary here. So we do appreciate that. All right, everybody. And by the way, you might enjoy, and all the Buckeyes might enjoy, we have about a 35-minute clip that you can check out on the Michigan channel, which is me talking to Buckeyes. That's right, folks. 35 minutes of me talking to Ohio State people. And it's actually good conversations. I would say we have the one with Hummus Hero on there. And then King, who stopped by, Ohio State fans, giving very interesting and different perspectives on the news that from last week. So check that out if you'd like to see some Ohio State-Michigan conversations. All right, folks. With that said, I'll see you in 40 minutes over at Trojan Conquest Live. And until next time, as always, go blue, and we'll see you tomorrow night.